What's going on, guys? James Blonde here with MMOHuts.com, taking a look at Crossout, a Mad Max meets Robocraft type action game developed by Targem Games and published by Gaijin Entertainment, so the same makers of War Thunder. As you can tell by the epic trailer, this is a post-apocalyptic battle machine game where you can build your own war rig, literally, out of hundreds of deadly parts, ride them into battle up against other players and AI enemies, ripping them to pieces, and claiming all kinds of different resources to continue to build your rig. Or at least that's the goal, anyway. I first got to see this game at E3 2015 behind closed doors. It was very secretive, and I've been excited ever since, especially since I saw Mad Max, like, right before that. The game has been in closed beta for several months now, and it's finally in a state that I can actually show it off, so let's get into it. So starting off in the garage here, you'll notice that this looks very similar to games like War Thunder. You've got the option to have multiple rigs down here, but you actually unlock this one at level 10, and you unlock this one at level 17. So it is set up, you only have 3 here, but it is set up to where it's not something you have to purchase in a cash shop or anything like that for more space. And this here is the build that you start off with. It's a pretty standard pickup truck. You're going to see a lot of these. And when you first hop into the game, the only thing you can do is actually fight, because it's sort of a tutorial setup. And the nice thing is you earn rewards, resources, and experience, or reputation is what it's called in this game, by winning battles and leveling up, which is really quick in the beginning. And the interesting thing is the battles are mixed with actual players and AI bots of various types. It's very easy to see the difference, and most of the time it's set up this way. Sometimes there's only 1 or 2 bots to fill the players on either team, but it's very rare to see a match with all actual players, especially early on, even though there are lots of players in the game already. Now, the missions are set up based on the possible rewards, or they're divided anyway. You've got get the machine gun, which is where you start out until you get to level 3. Then you have access to get the shotgun, which I've got to say is really good in combination with 2 starter machine guns. But as you can see down here, you've got the potential rewards for each of the missions, and once you've gained access to all of the missions, which happens to be at level 7 because they're level restricted up to that point, and you've got to progress through each one of them, you can then go back to any of them to get the rewards that you seek to sell or use to build better stuff, and you'll see what I mean as we get into it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get these rewards every time you enter a match. These are actually given based on participation, which goes hand in hand with XP, as well as being completely random. So, if you're good and you don't just die immediately, then you're going to get a lot of these rewards, but that doesn't mean that you get to slap these on your vehicle right away, and I'll get to that in a bit. At level 5, you can work towards getting the cannon, which is something that I still use until level 10, and then at level 7, you can get yourself some nice new wheels and a new cab that can give you just what you need to beef up your rig. A lot of the times you get the same rewards over and over again, but these are designed to be sold as currency to eventually pick up bigger and better things. You also have daily challenges and raids that can help you boost your XP and resources. Daily challenges get you scrap metal, which then can be used as a resource in manufacturing or traded for coin, which is the in-game currency. These are pretty typical. Some of them are dealing a set amount of damage at one time, capturing an enemy base, playing a certain number of matches, stuff like that. The raids, on the other hand, can either be a race, a siege, or a defensive mission, and they switch every 24 hours along with the daily challenges. These get you resources as a reward, like copper and coupons. Copper is used in manufacturing, and coupons are a specific resource that's used for unlocking containers that hold decoration items, rare, or even epic parts from the engineers. These can only be earned from raids, and these raids cost you fuel, very little, until you get into some of the bigger ones, but the fuel can be regained by strapping a fuel tank to your truck, or car, or whatever you've made, and going on regular missions. The fuel is pretty much the limiting factor, so that way you can't keep getting raid resources, and it makes you play all aspects of the game. Now, the regular battle game modes consist of 2 simple objectives. It's either kill or be killed, or capture the enemy base, and in some cases, on just one particular circular map, there's a central point that both teams are going for. It's pretty simple. And the matchmaking in the game works off of your vehicle's power score, similar to how Robocraft used to work. The individual parts you put on your rig contribute to its overall power score. Some parts have a higher power score but a lower durability rating, so it's important to find a nice balance between the two. But like I mentioned earlier, the battles are separated into 4 mission types that are level restricted. But after that, and even during really, you're matched with other players based on a range of power scores. So you will see players with lower or slightly higher power scores, and that has to do with their build, but it also has to do with what faction they might have access to as well, not necessarily their level. And with that being said, there are 4 different factions in the game. You've got the Engineers, the Lunatics, the Nomads, and the Scavengers. Everyone starts out as an engineer, and once you reach level 10, then you've gained enough experience to join another faction to take advantage of their unique parts and blueprints. So later on, you can mix and match or choose a faction that definitely has the parts that you want to see on your war rig. Each faction has fairly unique components. The Engineers build stuff out of pre-existing vehicle parts. That's why you see a freaking minivan front end on this one. The Lunatics are very similar to your Borderlands-style psychos. You've got buggy-style cars that aren't really that armored, but can definitely bring the hurt, and quick. These are going to be some of the more faster vehicles, albeit highly explosive. So if you want to put a buzzsaw on your truck, you've got to be a lunatic, literally, in this game. The Nomads designs combine feature of airplanes and vintage cars for a really cool look in my opinion. Plus, they're more of the techie bunch, believe it or not, with their drones that drop missiles and radar locators. See, while we're here, this is sort of the stuff that requires resources and scavenge parts. So basically, you've got to do every aspect of the game in order to get what you need to build these parts. You've got to do standard battles to try to earn the basic parts you need to manufacture some of these parts, which are then traded along with these resources you've gained from other battles and raids. That's kind of how it works. Anyway, the Scavengers are your heavy armored, heavy hitters. You've got tank treads and mammoth cannons. Pretty beast mode once you get to this point. So with manufacturing, starting out with the Engineers, you can craft common parts pretty easily, and you gain access to the uncommon parts workbench at level 5. Now crafting on the common workbench is free, but any other workbench, especially when you make it to the other factions, cost you coin to rent out. And that's in addition to all the parts and resources that you need to craft the part that you want in the first place. Oh yeah, and once you start manufacturing a part, it can take some time before it's finished building, but of course you can spend a little coin to rush the delivery. And one thing I forgot to mention is once you've joined another faction, you then have to level up each faction individually. That's how you get to the good stuff. So as you can tell, just from this here, there is a little grind in the game, but it's really not that bad in my opinion. No more than Robocraft, that's for sure. But onto the gameplay itself, it's really fun. Controls couldn't be any more basic. WASD move around. You use your mouse to aim, and if you have different types of guns, say a machine gun and an autocannon, then you can select which mouse button fires which set of guns. That's a really nice feature. The driving part of the game seems really fluid, but that also comes down to how you set up your vehicle, of course. But I can't say it doesn't seem like you can mess it up as easily as you can in Robocraft. In this game, if it looks like a vehicle in some shape or form, and it has wheels or alternatives to wheels, it should work. Physics plays a big part in this game as well. You can jump ramps, ram other vehicles with melee weapons. If you go into the mud, you get stuck a little bit. You can get flipped over, and you can even do an e-brake skid spin by turning around and holding the spacebar, which is kind of cool. If you get flipped, however, a lot of the times you're out of luck, unless you've got an ally nearby that can come and give you a hand, or if you've got a car jack, which is used to flip yourself back over. But by far the coolest part about the gameplay, just like in Robocraft, every single part of your vehicle can be destroyed individually. So you can actually target specific parts of the enemy vehicles, like the wheels, in order to make them immobile, or at least hinder their driving ability, or target their guns first to make them far less deadly. Ultimately, you're going for the cab of the vehicle, so most people have this heavily armored, and you're going to have to whittle your way through their armor just to get to it. But in the meantime, you might as well target certain aspects in order to make that job a lot easier. When it comes to building your vehicle, the best part is you can test drive. Super easy for fine-tuning. You can test drive anything you want, even if it doesn't work. I've made plenty of changes to mine once I started figuring out the balance between functionality, looks, durability, and overall power score. So this is what I've got right now. It's not the best looking rig, but it's functional and structurally sound without being super heavy. So early on, you start out with a basic truck cab, and then you can upgrade that to a better one that will give you a higher power score, more durability, more tonnage, more power and speed, and an important one, energy points. Energy points are something that is used by gadgets and weapons. This is a limiting factor that keeps you from having, like 20 machine guns on your rig. So You've got to be selective with your weaponry and gadgets like the car jack, the booster, or the weapon radiator to best utilize your cab's energy points. Now later on, you can manufacture generators that will give you additional energy points at the sacrifice of weight and other things. Later on, I switched onto the VW bus cab for more durability, but next I'm probably going to go for this cabin here for more energy points, going from 8 to 10 without having a generator. I'm hoping to get another machine gun up there. That's a medium machine gun, so it's pretty powerful. The autocannon I have drains 5, so that's where most of my energy points are going. Oh, and when I say durability, I mean structure. So in other words, how much armor points it puts on your vehicle. If you notice under my power score here, you've got my overall structure, and that indicates your hit points in battle. So as you can imagine, you want to keep this as high as possible without suffering in other areas like too much weight, a low power score. Luckily, I'm just above half my max weight, so my speed doesn't really suffer either. You also have a total part limitation, and this goes up as you reach certain levels, but it's definitely a limiting factor when you go into building your rig how you want it. But then again, there is also durability on a lot of parts. Durability meaning that they actually break down wear and tear. Mainly moving parts like wheels, weapons, generators, and your cab. You can easily see what is damaged with this button here, and you can swap out parts fresh if you have them in your inventory this way. Plus, you can go into your storage, click repair, and transfer durability if you've got several half-broken parts or spares. Unfortunately, I don't have what I need to repair my autocannon, which I really like. A lot of these systems probably need some work before a more public beta or launch, and are definitely some of the drawbacks to the game, having to deal with this. When selling parts, for an example, it's all done through a market-style system, and a lot of the common parts sell for really cheap, and the more people there are selling these parts, the less you get for them. So it's hard to get these parts, and a lot of times, well, it's not really that hard to get these parts, but a lot of times you don't really get much for them, so it kind of increases the grind when it comes down to it. On the other side, you've got these really rare parts that people are selling for really high prices, and that's really the only way to get them unless you're lucky enough to snag them in a special container that you manufacture with a lot of resources that you've earned while playing raids. And the higher level you are, the more access you have to higher level raids, and the more resources you're going to get that way. So that's pretty much how you have to do it. And the chances of getting a rare or epic part in one of these containers is pretty slim too, at the cost of a lot of resources. The good news here is that there isn't an actual cash currency in the game, so the economy itself is driven based on what you earn and sell for coin. You can, however, buy bundle packs that get you special parts and cosmetic items along with coins to purchase more stuff in the game, in the market anyway. These are also the Founders Pack, so if you purchase one of these, you actually get instant access to the closed beta. The problem here, for now anyway, is that you've got this durability mechanic. I've seen people in chat talk about how they've purchased one of these packs and can no longer use a certain part because it's worn out, because they can't actually remanufacture that part until they get high enough level and don't have the resources or funds by the time it gets destroyed. So, like I said, still some stuff to work out here. It would be nice if you can repair other parts from different parts instead of the same part. But either way, I've been playing the game up to level 10, and I've had an absolute blast so far, and everyone else in the closed beta seems to feel the same way, for the most part. The regular battles are fun. There were like 4 or 5 different maps so far, my favorite being the new ship graveyard map. This one overall looks awesome, and the layout works perfect. The Pve Raids are actually pretty fun too. You've got some that have you try and capture crates while fending off bots under a specific time limit. This one's called Race. Then you've got Siege, where you seek out and destroy oil rig looking things, again while dealing with the bots and defenses on the objectives themselves. It's best to use your autocannon and take them out from a distance, in my opinion. And later on, once you get high enough level, you can create Leviathans, which are like boss-type vehicles that you can submit to fight other players in special battles. But speaking of which, another really cool aspect, very similar to Robocraft, is the exhibition, where you can upload, like, and download player-created vehicles along with Leviathans. A lot of these look pretty sweet, and the awesome part is you can test drive them, and you can save their blueprints. That way, if you have the right parts, you can actually manufacture them yourself. The only issue so far is that some of the players are uploading some of the premium vehicles, you know, the ones that you get from purchasing the Founders Packs, which makes it a little easier for just anybody to get as long as they have the parts necessary to make them, which I guess that part is a little harder to do, so maybe worthwhile. Anyway, the game has its bugs for now, but it's still really fun. If you're a fan of Robocraft and Mad Max, you're probably going to enjoy this game. It's definitely worth trying once it goes into a more public beta. But currently, it's in closed beta, and you can sign up to their website for the chance to access the game. It's a chance to access the game. Or you can pick up one of the Founders Packs, of course, to gain instant access, like I mentioned earlier. But in the meantime, pick up more information about the game at the game profile at MMOHuts.com. And until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.